Hi, this is Amjad Ali Khan. I am at Wigmore Hall and we are celebrating 123rd anniversary. We are presenting diverse kind of music and I'm so happy to be here after such a long time. We always look forward to be at Wigmore Hall. This time with my sons, Amaan Ali Bangash and Ayaan Ali Bangash. And introducing my grandchildren. They are twin boys, 12 years old, Abeer and Zohaan. Plus we have Britten Sinfonia conducted by Maestro David Murphy and amazing guitarist Maestro Sean Shibe and young violinist Charlotte Saluste-Bridoux. So I hope all our efforts, all our dedication and commitments, they are well received by the audience. This intimacy of this beautiful hall is amazing because we have performed for 10,000 people also. But this intimacy, especially in Wigmore Hall, we enjoy the most. So I think music lovers have a lot of variety and the opening piece is all five of us. We call it Sarod Quintet. While playing Sarod, in fact, I am singing through the instrument. All these glides and slides we have in Indian classical music. So we don't have a written score, we don't read music, we don't write music. So it's an oral tradition. What my father taught me, my guru taught me.
It's just an honor for the family to be a part and be associated with the Wigmore Hall, a place where greats of the greats have performed. It's not about me, it's not about my father or Ayaan as soloists. It's about us as a team with everybody. So it's like one big ship sailing through. So the whole idea of having this amalgamation of the confluence of music with the Western musician is because it's like we want the people over here. Whenever generally you go to a country, that country has its own musicians, has its own culture. So when you collaborate with such an artist, the concert becomes more interesting for the audience because you would see that there was an 80% British audience and 10-20% Indian audience. So we were catering more to the British audience over here. And I think they relate more with their instruments, like the violin, the guitar, drums and all. They can connect better and they understand your music easily.
I think for musicians it's interesting that even if you don't kind of speak the same language, you just connect through the language of music. Because at the end of the day, music is the language of vibrations. And you can pick vibrations up, you can pick up energies constantly. And that's what we do constantly as musicians, because we are not playing what we do in Indian classical music. It's not rehearsed. Everything happens on stage. So this is something interesting for us to come out of our comfort zone. But in this case, I mean, luckily, the interaction has been so wonderful.
All of the three pieces that we're performing together are premieres in this arrangement. We've not played them before, and they vary a lot in mood and tone, using different modes, some of which are very familiar to guitarists, and others which involve scales that are less commonly physically used on the instrument. So that's been a lot of fun to get to grips with. I think sometimes when fusion happens, it feels a little bit tacky, like you have like crossover labels, and I always slightly roll my eyes at it. But I think because of the way it's arranged and notated, and the degree to which they've worked with other guitarists and arrangers and making sure it's really that we're sharing these parts in a very equally divided way, I think that makes it a much more compelling experience than other things that I've come across.
So with the guitar you have frets and you play with the fingertips, so there's a bit of more area covered with your fingertip. Sarod is with your nails and you're playing on a fretless instrument. It can slip very easily.
Violin, cello, sitar, they are played with the fingertip. So if I play Sarod with fingertip, the sound is very dull set. To bring out the resonance, I have to press the strings with the edge of my fingernails. And that is why sometimes I need to file my nails during the recital, not to beautify my finger, but to make comfortable. While playing, you might have seen my eyes are closed automatically. I want to look, but unknowingly my eyes are closed and I feel connected with God Almighty. Because on the stage you don't see any conductor around me, but I'm sure somebody is conducting me and I'm just conveying the messages I receive from cosmic powers.
We are literally meditating. It's a form of prayer to us, to connect with a higher power that is not visible, That's why when we sit on stage, we don't wear our shoes when we are holding an instrument. We literally hold our instrument to our head and pray to our instruments as well. And it's just humbling every time you're back on stage because you're just as good as your last concert.
I've never played something like this. I've done a little bit of sort of improvising in my life, but nothing with Indian musicians. And it's been quite something, just discovering even just the scales. And of course, this is all written out for most of it. But there is so much flexibility when we're on stage. If one of the brothers decides that he wants to do an extra cadenza, that's just going to happen. And so you have to be very, very flexible in the approach. I've loved it, actually. It throws you off at first, and then it makes you probably a better musician.
You have to keep rehearsing certain pieces certain times, which is not the culture of Indian classical music per se, but it's challenging in a good way. You learn a lot. I think working with Western classical musicians have definitely taught me more discipline as a person.
I find the Western musicians, they are so committed and dedicated. And they believe in lots of rehearsals. Generally in India, if I have to perform, I whole day relax and rest. I don't do any rehearsal because I don't know what I'm going to perform.
I've got a long history of collaborating with Indian musicians, and Khan Sahab was one of the first I began collaborating with around 20 years ago. So this project is unique in that it uses the Western orchestra in a different way to what one often experiences with collaborations. The ensemble is a traditional Western ensemble, but we've taken an orchestration of strings, 2 oboes and 2 horns, which was used so often by composers like Mozart and Haydn, and seeing what we can do with that, with the textures and so on, in the context of Indian music. So adding a sarod and a tabla to this basically 18th century orchestration has been fascinating. It gives it's a lightness and a clarity to the texture, and a whole new approach to combining the music of East and West. we're balancing structure with flow. We're balancing the Western concept of structure. You have the music notated, you have everything in a particular order. It has to go that way, otherwise chaos ensues. That's the Western approach, whereas the Indian approach is, of course, very free. You create the music in the moment. You communicate with the audience in the moment. So the challenge is bringing those two approaches together, having the strength of the structure from the Western approach and the wonderful flow of the Indian approach. Merging those two together is hugely challenging for everybody, because the orchestral musicians have to think in a different way. The piece may not go the same tonight as we've just rehearsed. It may go off in a completely different direction. Amjad Ali Khan is a wonderful musician to work with, because the whole essence of his music is song, and that human connection that you find in the sort of natural breathing and singing, and he projects that so incredibly beautifully through his instrument, so that the Sarod literally sings. You can hear the Khan Sab's heartstrings as he plays. You can feel the emotion flowing through, because there's no limitation technically or musically to what he can do. He can create the sound immediately that he wishes, and he relates so wholeheartedly to the audience and to the other performers on stage.
So these are the ornamentation, they are, musical. This is what Indian music is. But when I'm writing for the orchestra, I avoid all these things, because the best musicians, they are not used to slides and ornamentation and all those things. So I write in such a way which is comfortable for them to play. What is raga? We call when a melody has a discipline of ascending and descending. So we give a name to that melody. Like Rag Bhupali, 5-note raga. You call it pentatonic, 5 notes raga, and within those 5 notes we improvise. Da ra 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 ra. Da 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 ga ba ga da ba ga ba da sa ba da ga ba da re ga ba sa re ga da re sa da ba da sa re ga. So if I've announced Bhupali, then I will only use these 5 notes. And if I say Rag Yaman, then Yaman has 7 notes. Da ra 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 da ra 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 da ya ri da na ri ta. So I can keep improvising within these notes. So it's a freedom within the discipline.
A lot of people talk about the East and West and the difference in how you play this music, but actually with any music, whether it's Kurtag or Bach or Hildegard von Bingen or ragas, or it's about finding a connection and a meaning to these sounds. And once you find that connection, that's all there is. You don't have to employ any magic, or I think you just need to allow yourself to connect to the sort of kernel of it, and then it's easy. I love playing the Wigmore. It's my favourite place to play. It's amazing. It's the best concert hall in this country. The sound that comes back to you is very warm. I think that's the great thing. So you feel, as soon as you play the first night, you think, oh, everything's going to be okay. It's not the same with every hall at all. It's lovely here.
You know, anybody playing Sarod in the world, directly or indirectly, they are connected with our family. Because my forefathers, they created this instrument, beautiful instrument. We never forced our children to play Sarod. It's a gradual realization of the sound and the beauty of Sarod. And then when they are adult, they realize the responsibility of the family.
This was my debut concert in London, and it was a very good performance by everyone, and it was an honor to perform at Wigmore Hall. I feel like there's lots to come. I have to work hard to practice more, but this is a good start for me. I feel like I've learned the basics of music, and hopefully I'll get better and better by practicing more and believing in what I've achieved and what I will learn from my father and grandfather for many years to come.
For an audience who's been attending some of the shows, if not all, I think there's so much to, and I say this with utmost humility, but I think there's so much to take back home creatively. And I think there is a larger message to what we are doing, is that, we're all just spreading the message of peace, non-violence and love through music. I think every artist on this planet is connected with the same 12 notes of music. So we're one big community, one big family. I just feel very humbled to be a custodian of an art form that is able to do that. And hats off to Wigmore Hall for thinking of us, for putting this kind of opportunity together for us. We're truly honored and humbled.